Narendra Modi or Israel ke Pradhan.
So we request you both General Kulkarni and Ms. Mukherjee to stay with us as we are showing visuals of the bilateral delegation level talks now in progress. Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the Indian delegation and Benjamin Netanyahu with the Israeli delegation. Formal talks on deepening cooperation in different fields on the agenda, specifically science and technology, innovation, digital technology, and of course, deepening defense ties.
Yes, India and Israel already have extensive relations where even fields of health and agriculture, education, and culture are concerned, but there is, of course, the need to strengthen them further and extend them into domains of sensitive and strategic nature, particularly in the field of innovation, where a lot of talk is now perhaps being focused on deep tech areas such as AI and autonomous technologies. Apart from that, of course, there's defense, which has its own innovation element to it. A lot of tech that we see around us, from the internet to many other things, have emerged from basically work done for defense, and a lot of technology is emerging from that even now, which could be put to use in civilian fields. So that is also something that could perhaps be on the table here in terms of the kind of exchanges that India and Israel foresee for themselves. Very vital talks indeed, this delegation level meeting, and we'll soon have outcomes and leader statements as well emerging from it.
Yes, so a lot on agenda. India's Prime Minister is expected to discuss upgrading security and economic agreements amid rising regional tensions. Earlier, Benjamin Netanyahu had proposed in one of his cabinet briefings that there could be a hexagon of alliances he is proposing. So even that could be on the agenda. And of course, as we speak, the first round of negotiations on the free trade agreement are going on in New Delhi. So a lot on the table. Ms. Mukherjee, what concrete deliverables or MOUs could emerge out of these bilateral talks that could have long-term impact for both the countries?
Well, first of all, there should be avoidance of double taxation agreement. I think that's very much on the cards. As the FTA is concerned, there are certain details which are being discussed between the two sides with regard to lowering of tariffs, of course, of products that India needs from Israel, and very quickly at a reasonable price, and the same for the Israeli side. These are being worked out. The hexagon of alliances which you referred to is actually like an algorithm. It's something symbolic. A hexagon of alliances is now being talked about as common strategic partners of India and Israel in different areas, be it defense or security or trade or mutual political aims and goals. That is how people are now increasingly interpreting this word, which 2 days ago was being looked at as an ambiguous definition of what is a hexagon of alliances. So many are now saying it's like an algorithm. It means a whole lot of things covered in 3 words. And I would say that after these talks, which I see here happening, which are the bilateral talks, I see EM, I see NSA, etc., and very important members from the Israeli side. I think after that, there would be a joint press statement where also this whole issue of how India and Israel together look at the hexagon of alliances will also be explained. And apart from the great progress made and certain protocols and MOUs which would be signed, which would be elaborated, I'm sure, by Foreign Secretary CM there. Yes, perhaps it's Foreign Secretary.
Yes.
These kind of explanations usually come from Foreign Secretary after the joint press statement briefing between Prime Minister of Israel and Prime Minister of India. So I think we have to wait and see exactly what has been agreed upon. But definitely, it would be a first step in ironing out all obstacles that may exist towards the quick finalization of the FTA, which would follow soon after this visit. That's usually the way that MEA and Commerce Ministry work it out, to my experience, and I think that's the procedure they're going to follow.
All right, General Kulkarni, quickly, what would you be looking out for in terms of the outcomes of this visit of Prime Minister Modi to Israel?
Yes, surely, as I see from a defense point of view, it's very essential. It requires swift, joint responses across domains, and this kind of hexagonal alliances, which of course is still being spoken about, but definitely because it does not, it has a mix of all. We have the Greeks, Cyprus, Christians, you will have Israel, Jews. If India goes in secular country, as much this thing, then you have some countries like Somaliland or yet another Arabic nation in it. So it's going to be a hexagonal alliances of all. It is not addressed against a particular this thing, unlike what Pakistan seems to think, but it's an alliance against terrorism. And to be able to fight against terrorism and to have swift responses across domains, it would be very essential that we have this in place. That would be one. Sharing of information, as we've been again and again saying, because until and unless sharing of information is there, surveillance is there, reconnaissance is there, the kind of various new innovations come, how? Because it's not one or two drones, not one or two UAVs, no, it's swarm of drones. So obviously the swarm of drones need to be addressed. The cost has to come down, drastically come down. And that is only possible with research and development, sharing of technologies with each other, being able to manufacture at one place, being able to transfer it to another place. You know, it's absolutely jointness across the field to be able to fight terror. That is one. Second, of course, the disaster management is there. The blue food, the seafood part of it is there. The aspect of innovation, the artificial intelligence is there. Quantum computing is there. That drip irrigation is there in terms of agriculture. So there's so much that you can sort of share with each other. And India has now, of course, tops in so much of it, whether it is in food, whether it is in aspects of egg, or it is in aspects of milk, or anything, meat or fish. We are all amongst the top 3 in the world. And therefore, there's so much that we can learn from Israel. There's much that Israel can learn from India. And then across sharing, I think that is the only way forward. And I see this relationship of India with Israel would go a long way in ensuring peace in the world. It's very, very essential. It's not that Abraham Accord in 2020 alone that people some countries there start recognizing Israel, but it should be something that Israel is there to exist, and there should be no existential threat to Israel. There should be trust, faith, and all of them should live together. And hope that India contributes in that towards that direction in a big way, that both India prospers, Israel prospers, and the world prospers.
Yes, thank you very much, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General Infantry, Indian Army, for being with us on the show, taking this point forward with Ms. Mukherjee. Yes, Isaac Herzog, Israeli president, a little while ago said that India is a part of the Middle East's future as much as Middle East is part of India's future. Could you expand that very powerful statement by Dr. Herzog in the context of the profoundly, changing scenario of the affiliations in West Asia?
Well, I think first of all, our first step forward in being a very important player in the Middle East was when we were able to successfully get consensus on the IMEC. And then, as I said, because of the October 7 attack, and then after that what happened in the Gaza Strip, the IMEC had to sit back. Now, if things actually pan out well, and that second phase of the ceasefire continues with all the conditions attached, etc., and there is some stability in Gaza, some rebuilding, some encouragement to the Palestinians that they can go back and live in peace and security, provided Hamas accepts Israel's right to exist or has to be disarmed, because the main problem is that Israel can no longer live with terror.
How do you pronounce your surname, sir? Yes,
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Mukherjee.
Sorry, I thought you wanted me to stop, so I stopped.
No, go ahead, please.
So what I was saying is that India is a very crucial player, because the major players in the Middle East prior to the October 7 attack actually were in the process of concluding agreements with Israel, which would be mutually beneficial from an economic perspective and which would facilitate India's IMEC. That itself would revolutionize the whole region and would enable the ancient trade routes which existed to come back, so to speak, in a modern era of 2025, 2026. And that is something that a country like India is very much in a position to be able to help to carry forward, because we are an acceptable political player to most of the countries in the Middle East. The sole exception, but is not in the Middle East, it's in Europe, is Turkey. Turkey is very inimical to India. Turkey has a different political game, is very closely allied to Pakistan. But apart from Turkey, I can't think of any major Middle East player that is opposed to India getting much more involved in the Middle East, given the kind of photos that are emerging from this visit. The Middle East leaders who are watching Doordarshan and these photographs and the semantics of the visit would understand that this is a country which has a step in the Middle East camp and a complete footprint in Israel, and is therefore in a position to be able to move the process forward by which Israel's right to exist is accepted by its neighbors, and a win-win situation can develop with regard to mutual trade, defense, etc. In that respect, what is also very important is that intelligence sharing and surveillance, which we are building up, and which the Israelis have amazing technological capacity. This is something which we would surely bring back from this visit. This is of vital importance to us. And on this, for instance, Israelis have got no difficulty in sharing technology with us. We would do that because we too have countries which they may technically accept our right to exist, but which actually don't accept our right to exist. Otherwise, why would there be so many terrorist attacks in India from 47 onwards? So therefore, I think that we are bound to play as a major emerging power a much bigger role in the extended Middle East and in Israel, with the sole exception that I have made of Turkey, which is why when General Kulkarni spoke about the hexagon, and he talked about Cyprus and Greece, that actually fits in a way, because Cyprus and Greece have both been victims of Turkish aggression, and Cyprus has been partitioned into Cyprus and TRMC because of Turkish aggression and because of Turkey's refusal to accept Cyprus's right to exist. So from that perspective, from a political perspective, that hexagon makes sense. But for me, I look at the hexagon as an algorithm which hides much more than what it actually means. There's a lot of stuff stuffed into those three words, which we would probably be able to decipher at the joint press conference.
Well, certainly a hexagon which could be looked at as an algorithm, or a lattice which is the centerpiece of diamonds as well, which is the hardest material known to the human race. But while you were speaking, Ms. Mukherjee, we have Lieutenant General Sanjay Soy also joining us, strategic and defense expert, well-known one at that. General Soy, if I could ask you, there have been questions around timing of this visit as well with Prime Minister Modi, how it is critical that he has made this visit at this particular time. Well, A, you have a scenario where India knows its post-Operation Sindoor requirements where its defense is concerned, and B, a situation where the situation in the scenario in the Middle East or West Asia is also stabilizing post the Gaza peace process being rolled out. It's still in the first phase, supposed to go to the second, but at the same time there are tensions where Iran is concerned.
Absolutely. In fact, Gautam, I would say that at present, geopolitical situation, especially in Middle East, is very, very tense and quite dynamic. Especially, though the situation on Israel front, immediate front in Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi has quietened down. But however, with Iran, the things are still very tense, and US has already moved its forces and concentrated its forces there. So at present, situation is very, very dynamic. Hopefully, something should come up in the meeting nuclear deal between Iran and US that the whole world is looking at it. As far as India is concerned, post-Operation Sindoor, though with our layered air defense system, indigenous as well as the imported ones, we could beat the Pakistan design and we could destroy their missiles as well as drones midway, and there's no damage to India. However, with the changing time, with the changing technology, it is very, very important that we keep upgrading ourselves. And in this case, Israel also has a tested air defense system like Iron Dome, Iron Beam, Arrow, David Sling, number of air defense systems which have been tried and tested. That could incorporate, be part of the overall mission Sudarshan Chakra to foil any misadventure by whether Pakistan, China, or at present when we look at the Bangladesh also. And to that, we need to strengthen that with the layered air defense system between indigenous ones and some technologies imported from Israel. And definitely one good thing is that they are in principle have agreed for joint ventures for making Iron Dome in India. That will be a great boost for Atmanirbharta or indigenization towards defense production. So in view of the present situation, I think it is a win-win situation for both the countries. Israel is also looking for some support, as discussed by earlier speakers, whether hexagonal philosophy or policy, or it is for India. We also need the technology of Israel to upgrade our defense system. Gautam.
Okay, Major General, so would it be that India would be if materialized, India would be the first country with which Israel would share such an advanced technology of the Iron Dome?
Yes, no doubt. Because this is such an advanced technology, I would say that how the Iron Dome works, we have seen it, visuals were there on your TV channels were there when how the rockets and missiles of the Hamas and Hezbollah were destroyed mid-air, and it has the capability of identifying the missile, oncoming missile, and which missile or rocket would cause damage to a worthwhile target which will land up in some deserted area. See, it identifies, destroys, that pinpoint destruction is there, and definitely it is a great safety for us, especially when we talk about the Pakistan, China, and the kind of security situation which we have. And this is again a trust factor between India and Israel, which is probably Israel also looking for a trusted friend. After attack by Hamas, India was one country which condemned attack by Hamas, though we continue to maintain relationship with PLO. But our philosophy is both fight against terrorism. Israel is also suffers from terrorism. We also suffer from terrorism. Both have some common objectives, and definitely fight against terrorism, we are together, and this transport technology will definitely be a great boost in our friendship.
And this Iron Dome, Iron Beam, it can be used against loitering munition as well, such as drones, where you can't really tell its final target, or even hypersonic missiles which might have multiple payloads and can drop them off at multiple targets?
Absolutely. When we talk of the layered air defense system, so when we talk of Iron Beam, it has a limited range, but it is cheaper to operate. Like each Iron beam will cost just for $2 or so to destroy a drone, incoming drone, and it's about to have a point defense in the very important points of very important defense area. And then we talk of the Iron Dome, it is slightly bigger, 60 to 70 kilometers. Then we have an Arrow, then we have a SAM 400, then we have Akash. So we have
Iron Beam could be put on naval assets as well.
Yeah.
Required.
So this can be put on the naval. We are buying because the naval version is also being bought, and with the not only a defensive measure, we are also buying the loitering ammunition from Israel, whether it is spice or rampage. So number of loitering ammunition we are buying. So it is not only defensive measures, we are also buying the offensive systems from Israel, which can definitely take care of the loitering ammunition, drones, rockets, missiles, which is a major threat. Like earlier speakers I was listening to your channel, they have also brought out that the modern day warfare is now more of a drones, missiles, aircrafts, and we need to build up on that, and we need to keep ourselves upgraded to take care of that kind of threat.
Indeed. As part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's engagements on the second day of his Israel visit, he has had a bilateral meeting with Israeli President Isaac Herzog in Jerusalem. Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized in these talks that India-Israel ties serve a powerful force for global good. He highlighted immense potential for collaboration in science, innovation, water management and agriculture, praising Israel's expertise in these sectors for sustainable solutions benefiting both the nations and the world.
भारत और इजराइल का संबंध अनेक क्षेत्रों में बड़ी मजबूती के साथ ग्लोबल गुड के लिए काम आ सकता है। साइंस हो, इनोवेशन हो, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हो, और कुछ चीजों में तो अपनी बहुत बड़ी महारत है, खास करके पानी के संबंध में, एग्रीकल्चर के संबंध में। और भारत इजराइल की बहुत सी अच्छी चीजों को आज भी भारत में खास करके एग्रीकल्चर में लागू करने का प्रयास करता है, और उसके अच्छे परिणाम भी निकल रहे हैं। राष्ट्रपति जी, मेरी खुशी है कि मुझे इसके पहले भी आपको अलग अलग जगह पे मिलने का मौका मिला है। मैंने आपको विचारों की स्पष्टता सुनी है, भारत के प्रति आपका मान सम्मान का भाव देखा है, और इसके लिए मैं भी आपका बहुत आभारी हूँ।
So there you heard Prime Minister Modi during his engagement with the President of Israel, Dr. Isaac Herzog, speaking about the kind of ties that India and Israel have had, the relationship, the collaboration, working together in different fields, and these extend to multiple domains, and there is the possibility that this could be deepened further, widen further as well. If I could again go back to Ms. Mukherjee, do you feel that there is ample room there, Ms. Mukherjee, to do more where India and Israel are concerned, particularly when it comes to innovation, especially in fields such as AI and other deep tech?
There is huge scope for collaboration in AI and deep tech, but in addition, one of the things that we have been actively looking at is Israel's huge innovation in increasing agricultural production, water harvesting, water preservation. As I was saying earlier in your program, that when they moved into this barren strip of land, it was like a desert. They have transformed it into one of the most interesting transformations in human history. If you go to Israel now and look at it now, and look at photographs of what it was when it was handed over to them, this except for certain parts of the Gaza Strip, etc. So it's not just AI. Yes, AI is very important, but there are so many other innovations that this relatively small nation has been able to perfect to a level that it is actually competing with major players, and this is something which India also has done. There is one common factor in both, which is that both believe in innovation. I don't know what is the English word for jugaad, but Israelis are equally good at jugaad like Indians are.
Okay.
Best innovation is a good substitute word for jugaad, but imaginative innovation is the way I would call it. And more than that, Israel puts great emphasis on R&D. That is something we need to learn from them. And despite the constraints on their budget, their research and development projects are excellent. And this again will help both, and particularly on AI, you can have AI assisted R&D, which is what is happening. So I think that there are so many exciting avenues ahead of us, and I'm sure that some of it will be fleshed out and announced today, and the rest will come in the FTA, which follows shortly thereafter.
Okay, Ms. Mukherjee, what role do Israel's innovation ecosystems could play in India's digital transformation, which is already doing a very fabulous, which already has a very fabulous trajectory? And of course, startups. Yes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday mentioned that in 2017, the iCreate portal was created by both Israel and India. What is the potential of further, forwarding this momentum on Indian startups as well?
Well, first of all, there is a lot of shared energy on this matter. And secondly, there is also a steady flow now of Indian high-tech professionals going to Israel, working there, coming back, etc. This is something which actually fits in very well with our quest for young professionals to get a good experience outside and come back. This is also, in a way, a way to address the situation created with the virtual abolition or denial of business visas to Indians by the United States. Indians are looking for other avenues. Israel is very interested in having qualified Indians working there. We have students there, we have high-tech personnel there, we have startup companies doing collaboration with Israel, joint collaboration, etc. And of course, the whole issue of semiconductors, etc., is something in which we have huge collaborative interest. That is something which India really needs to pull its socks up, and we're doing that on semiconductors. So I think that there are so many different opportunities, but what is most important is this renewed interest among Indian students and high-tech companies to go to Israel, invest in Israel, set up joint ventures, and the same for Israel in India. We are a much larger country. We have a lot to offer Israel if they want to invest, and they would do that. That would also then resolve the issue which I think Gautam raised earlier, which is that how come trade figures have fallen. That will automatically bring up trade to much higher figures than it was when we fell to being Israel's second largest partner in Asia. We should actually be the top partner in Asia as far as trade is concerned.
Okay, and General, sorry, there's a common concern that India has had with a lot of countries. I'm sure Israel would not be a stranger to that, is the kind of restrictive regimes that have come in, particularly where critical materials are concerned. China, which has a monopoly, almost a veritable monopoly in that field, has in the past restricted it and disrupted a lot of supply chains as well. Now, India has found common cause with very recently country like Brazil, which is a huge repository, the world's second largest of rare earths. But in the case of a country like Israel, is there scope for India and Israel to collaborate in that field as well, perhaps with a third country? And do you think that might feature here? Because this is, again, a domain which has both relevance for defense and civilian areas.
Yeah. In fact, when we talk of the rare earth materials, India is looking for different options, and we have also, you have rightly brought out, looked at the Brazil and other countries. Israel has a high-tech knowledge, and India has a high-tech manpower. We have the manpower rich and which are very well qualified. That is where we can collaborate together and also work on the, like India is already working on the making a smart chip at home, and we already collaborated with Taiwan, Brazil and other suppliers in the world. And that is where probably we can supply, we can provide smart chips. Israel has the technology and we have the technological manpower. This kind of collaboration is definitely a win-win situation for both, and its application is, I think, anything and everything which we use, whether it is a domestic or in the defense sector. So it is going to be a game changer for both the countries. Gautam.
Okay, and Major General Soy, going forward, how successfully do you see India-Israel strategic partnership transitioning from just being a weapon importer to actually co-producing this defense equipment under the Make in India initiative?
In fact, Tanviji, I would say that India's mindset has changed quite a lot, right from 2014 when we hardly exported anything to last year we exported arms worth more than 21,000 crore, and it is increasing by every passing year. Defense production has already crossed, domestic defense production has already crossed about 1,50,000 crore. So these are the figures which show that we are focusing on indigenization, we are focusing on Atmanirbharta, and whatever deals we are doing with any country, whether it is France or Israel or US or Russia, our focus remains on transfer technology and Make in India, and that is going to be a game changer in the near future, because we are not looking only for Make in India, only for us, but make for world. That is a thought process. The whole philosophy has undergone a change, and it has many advantages. I mean, whether it is a relationship with those countries when we are exporting to more than 100 countries, or it is supporting our MSME sector, SME sector, ancillary industries, or we are our own armed forces are getting it cheaper and their supply chain issues get do not face any problem, or we are also getting foreign exchange by exporting this weapon system. So countries are looking for making as a hub, for export hub for their weapon system. We are already doing it for Russian BrahMos, or France is also looking at India for making different parts of Rafale. So these kinds of deals are there.
In the case of Israel, there's Barak as well?
Yeah. With the Barak missile which is already there. So this is a game changer, going to be a game changer, and when we look at the world, we have a lot to catch up as far as arms export is concerned, and we are on the right path.
All right. Now, Ms. Mukherjee, in terms of taking this forward further to the domains where both their capabilities are complementary to each other, especially where making for the world is concerned, do you see a scenario taking shape where this might actually happen, where Israel transfers technology, India makes these systems, and then third parties could also be joint clients or something like that?
Absolutely. I think my co-panelist explained that if Israel has high technology, we have highly qualified technological workers. That's a win-win situation for both countries, and there is nothing that stops us from going in for joint collaboration, and if necessary, getting a friendly third partner, and making sure that we have a ready market for what we are producing. And in that context, and the FTA would be essential, because it would also smoothen the path for such joint collaboration by ensuring that what India needs from Israel for this joint project, what Israel needs from India, is available at zero tariffs, etc., so that the final product is affordable and can go into the market as a very viable, reliable alternative co-produced by Israel and India. So the opportunities are infinite. What is required to make all this take off is to ensure a stable political and economic environment in Israel, which is slowly coming with the ceasefire holding, because any conflict, if it's prolonged, it does have an effect on the economy of the country. So the holding of the ceasefire and the return of tranquility will ensure that all these many exciting projects take off much faster than it would if there was continuous hostilities going on, which is why it is very important also, and India has already made that clear, that we are ready to help in any way to ensure a permanent settlement of this Palestinian issue, so that both the Palestinians and the Israelis can live in peace and harmony and accept each other's right to exist. That's fundamental, particularly for the Israelis, who've been at the receiving end of so many terrorist attacks. This will also help us to take...
Yes, certainly. It found mention in Prime Minister's speech at the Knesset as well yesterday, where he talked about the process which has been put in place and has been now rolled out because of the UNSC resolution which India had backed. And now it's taken the shape of a board of peace, the meeting for which had taken place where India was an observer, because I guess we're still taking a view on that, General Soy. Do you feel that that is also a process that India has to keep an eye on while, ensuring that India's engagement with Israel, advances further?
Yeah, in fact, when we talk about the peace process in Gaza, India has supported the UN peace proposal, and it is, though it goes against US is talking of some different peace proposal, but India has supported, which has a support of the world, and India has always supported two-state philosophy, because on the one side, while we are friendly with Israel has been a trusted friend, but at the same time, right from beginning, we have also held the hands of Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, and because we are having a balancing act as far as the Middle East is concerned. We are against terror. We have always condemned attack by Hamas or Hezbollah, but we are maintaining a relationship with Iran. We are also maintaining a good relationship with other Middle East countries, whether it's Qatar, Dubai, UAE, or Saudi Arabia, Bahrain. All the countries are friendly to India. So India is, in fact, maintaining a very fine balance, and it is emerging as a trusted friend for both the parties. That is where they can trust that we will have no bias as far as interest of both the parties are concerned.
To take this point forward with Ms. Mukherjee, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was awarded with the Knesset medal yesterday, and of course he has the rare distinction of also having received the Grand Collar of State by the Palestinians. So Prime Minister Modi has, like Major General Sanjay was saying, India has always supported the two-state solution to this crisis, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited Palestine in the past. He's making his second visit to Israel in a decade. To what extent does this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in your view, further the India's stance on the entire Israel-Palestinian crisis, which may also figure in talks as part of another issue of regional interest?
Well, we have quite frankly condemned Hamas for what it did. We've done it. PM has done it. At the same time, we have time and again said that we recognize the two-state solution and the right of the Palestinians to exist, because they are also displaced people like the Israelis were until Israel was created. We have a nuanced position.
Yes.
With regard to the Gaza board, which was my co-panelist. I'd like to add to what he said by saying that our nuanced position is because we do not want it to, in a way, undermine multilateral institutions which have existed post-World War II, which includes, of course, the UN Security Council, which needs reform, but perhaps not in this manner. On the other hand, we have informally indicated that we could be there as an observer. We look at the Gaza peace process and the Israeli-Palestinian connect with a much broader vision. We are a millennia-old civilization. I think we understand these issues better than most. We think that it is possible to have a solution by which the Palestinians govern themselves, provided they recognize Israel's boundaries and its right to exist, and that they do not take advantage, perhaps, of a more flexible security situation that Israel would put in place, thinking that everything is okay and we have an arrangement with the Palestinians, and then wham, you have another October 7th attack happening. So that has to be ensured. Israel's existence and its security has to be ensured. And in that, who better than India and under our Prime Minister to be able to take such discussions forward? They don't happen in a board of peace, which is talking about raising $1 billion for this or for that. That happens through a political process which discusses and puts aside the legitimate fears of both sides, one of which I have articulated now. And normally, when such discussions take place, according to my experience in the UN, first they begin in a room with interlocutors talking to either party in two separate rooms. Then they come to common ground and the two parties meet together. And that is when a third trusted intermediary, trusted to both sides, is brought in to bring the flourishing final touches. In my opinion, there can be nobody better.
All right, and in the case of Iran as well, General Soy, do you feel that for India and Israel relationship to make meaningful progress, General Soy, that is also an issue which needs to be addressed through dialogue, and that perhaps is something that the Prime Minister left unsaid yesterday in the Knesset, but it could be applied. What applies for Gaza could also apply for Israel in terms of the kind of talks that are on in Geneva right now, but there is that duress of the presence of the US Armada in the region as well.
Absolutely, Gautam. What happens that at present, I think Middle East is on the boil. The situation is very, very tense. And with the, you rightly brought out, the US has built up their armada, they have reinforced their forces, they have brought in more fighters, they have built up their air defense system. So US is ready for attack. They are working for attack. At the same time, Iran and US are also looking for solutions, because that is the best thing which can happen, and that's why the talks are going on. As far as Iran is concerned, they don't want to give up their nuclear process for peaceful purpose. They say that they'll not make the weapon grade nuclear, but they'll not refine it to the plutonium to the nuclear level, weapon level, but they want to continue with the peaceful level. And they, as far as missiles are concerned, they want to keep it at 2,000 kilometers. They don't want to give up that program, because they feel that missile program is as a deterrence to them. It is a defense shield for them. Otherwise, anybody and everybody can attack them. At present, the biggest issue is lack of trust. Lack of trust, because US and Israel do not want Iran to become a nuclear power. And though Iran's assurance, they are not accepting, because they feel that any time it can be taken to the next level, to the weapon grade plutonium, and Iran can make weapons. If Iran becomes a nuclear power, the whole game, the power equation in the Middle East is going to change, and that is where they want to cap it and finish it before it reaches that level. That is the issue, and at present, probably again, as I had brought out earlier and Ambassador Mukherjee has said, that India is the best country as far as meetings or coordination is concerned, because Iran trusts India, Israel trusts India, and other countries of Middle East also have a trust factor in India. That is one very good thing, and probably, as she had brought out, when the third party is needed, there is nobody better than it can be India.
Okay, Ambassador Mukherjee, we haven't talked about how Israel's agriculture technology, driven by the need to cultivate arid land with scarce water. So in what ways could the agreement signed today with Israel help Indian agriculture?
We have actually already asked the Israelis to share with us their technology. They are actually one of the leading countries which has brought about greenery in a desert. Their technology is amazing. This is a country which has chronic shortage of water, and they have been able to make the desert bloom. This is something that is of immense importance to India because of the effects of climate change, the different patterns of the monsoon, the longer summers, the hotter summers, the shorter winters, etc. So we definitely are going to, will definitely find in the document a substantial paragraph on this, because this is something on which the Israelis, we talk too often about defense technology, etc., but they are really first class with regard to agriculture, with regard to water conservation, water harvesting, how to manage with scarce water resources, etc., etc. We have made a lot of headway too. Let's not diminish ourselves, but we would certainly benefit from top Israeli technology, and I'm pretty sure that that will figure in the document. Which we will get to see.
Do you feel that is something, Ms. Mukherjee, could also be extended to the field of, say, sustainable development, where bigger projects are concerned, infrastructure projects are concerned, Israel looking to build that as well with India's help, and India looking for investments in any case where that is concerned?
Yes, definitely, and quite remarkably, they also are very good at cleaning up dirty rivers, like the Dutch. The Dutch are good, so are the Israelis. The Israelis are cheaper, the Dutch are expensive. We certainly need to clean up many of our river systems. I live in Delhi, so I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the Jamuna. But the point here is that Israeli technology is, in many respects, is cheaper than European technology, and it would come with no strings attached, which sometimes Western technology does when it comes to India. So that is something, again, Gautam, that I'm sure we are exploring. You might ask a legitimate question that how are they so good at water harvesting and cleaning up rivers, and it's a small country? It's just that they have developed their technology in such a way that it has been used by other nations very successfully, and we must take advantage of this close and strategic partnership that we have to be able to harvest that for our own means, because if there's something we need to do, we need to clean up our rivers. That itself will boost our economic production and our GDP immediately. So this is something which we really need to look at, and I'm sure it's going to figure in the panel document.
Major General Soy, as we're exploring India-Israel economic and trade relations, what is the potential of Indian investments in Israel? If you could talk a little bit about that. What are the potential sectors of collaboration as business sides are also meeting as part of this visit?
Yeah, Tanvi, very interesting. In fact, we have been talking about Israel's selling to India, Israel investment in India. You know, the Haifa port is being built by Indian company. They have invited proposals from Indian companies for making metro project in Tel Aviv. Our TCS, Wipro, Infosys are present in Israel. Our manpower is present in Israel, helping them in health sector, engineering sector, and construction sector. So there are many fields.
In fact, startups, Israeli startups are attracting a lot of Indian talent.
Yeah, and their startups are attracting a lot of Indian talent because India has the technical know-how. We have the whether it is the doctors or engineers or BTech computer engineers, India has a rich pool of these people. So not only in development of infrastructure, we are also supplying the manpower in the technical field. So it is bilateral. It is a win-win situation for both. It is not only they are selling to India, they are also looking for investment and expenditure and work in the infrastructure, development of infrastructure in Israel.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to add to that, Ms. Mukherjee? Indian investments in Israel.
I completely agree with my co-panelists, and we are actually, the Israelis have asked us for investment flows. As I said, they don't have so many avenues available for investment flows because a large part of their GDP goes into defense production, electronic surveillance, counter-terrorism measures, etc. And that is something they can't help. They live in a very hostile neighborhood. They would welcome investment flows, and in fact, these flows are increasing. Just as, for instance, maybe a lot of your viewers don't know that we are one of the largest investors in the city of London, and we are number 2 after the Russians owning real estate in London. our former colony, colonizers. So in this particular case, our investment flows are directed towards joint ventures, as well as in sectors where we have expertise and where the Israelis would like us to invest. We are looking at that, and I think it's an excellent point made by my co-panelists that it's not a one-way situation. It's two ways and it's win-win for both. So I think it was important to highlight that, and I do agree with it completely.
Yes, an investment pact was formalized just last year, General Soy, and there are a lot of components in that which also have perhaps an impact or a bearing for the movement of people. And that is something that has been happening with India and Israel, but it's been at a level which could perhaps do with an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely, Gautam. What happened that before a visit by our Honorable Prime Minister, a lot of work has been done. Like last year, bilateral investment TT was signed, and then defense cooperation TT was signed when Defense Secretary visited in December. So a lot of homework has already gone into this, and you are right that India is rich in manpower. India is a young country, and we have highly talented manpower. And if you see, not only Israel, we are, our manpower is already deployed in the field of medical or engineering or technical fields or construction field. And at the same time, if you see other countries also looking at India, whether it's Japan or Korea or Europe, they are looking at utilizing the manpower pool of India, and we must encash it. We must make sure that the quality education is imparted and which meets the international standards, so that this is one thing which we can encash as far as Israel and other countries are concerned. Gautam.
Yes, so as we are discussing bilateral trade between the two countries, India's main exports to Israel include pearls, precious stones, automotive diesel, chemicals, machinery, electrical equipment, and imports include petroleum, chemical machinery and transport equipment. And as we speak, the two sides are holding bilateral delegation-level talks, and we are expecting a few MOUs to be signed at the end of it. And India ranks as Israel's second largest Asian trading partner in merchandise. And like we told you, dominated by diamonds, petroleum and chemicals, the trade between the two countries.
Right. So as we have it, these things are ongoing. We have the India-Israel Innovation Bridge as well, Ms. Mukherjee, that has already been doing some pioneering work, but this needs to be extended further as well. Do you feel that this is something that will be part of perhaps a pact that might emerge from these set of meetings, especially where, again, we talk about deep tech, where there is the quest for building semiconductors in India, and Israel could be a market for that in both civilian and defense applications. And we've not spoken much about cybersecurity, where, again, the threat is ever present both in the defense and civilian domains.
We actually have ongoing cooperation on cybersecurity. So I won't elaborate too much on that on national television, but this has been going on for a while. As far as semiconductors are concerned, that is of vital importance to India. And we would like to collaborate with Israel to build these semiconductors so that we are not at the mercy of one or two countries who may suddenly decide on a whim to cut off our supply. Semiconductors is something that is absolutely vital for us. Just like now, different varieties of drones which Israel produces is absolutely vital for us. It was very important for us. In Offshore, we used a lot of Israeli drones. So these kind of things are ongoing, and we will raise it further. Semiconductors, as you rightly pointed out, is of top priority for us. And we are determined. We have already opened up manufacturing facilities in a couple of states in India, which you are aware of. We intend to diversify it. We need to make sure, because right now semiconductors are concentrated in Taiwan, we need to make sure that in case anything happens, we are not cut off from our supply of semiconductors. And the only way to do that is to make it ourselves and to set up these manufacturing facilities as soon as possible. We should have done that decades ago. But we are catching up, and certainly as far as semiconductors are concerned, we would definitely be leaning on the Israelis, joint manufacturing unit, etc. And these would all be located in India. We are determined to make ourselves into a semiconductor hub, and the only way to do it is to do it in your own country, so that nobody can, in a moment of need, blackmail us by cutting off supplies. So that is something we really need to do. And we will do it. Whenever we've been in a situation of conflict where there's been a shortage, like a lot of people here perhaps don't know that, for instance, when we had Kargil suddenly thrust upon us, we had a shortage of snow equipment. That was news to me, that we probably had not thought that we needed so much. We had to very quickly get the supplies, because some countries have regulations that when a country is in conflict, they will not give anything, not even snow boots, snow goggles, nothing. We have learned our lessons in the past. Now we are fully prepared. And for all the areas where we need to boost up, we are doing that. And who better than with a trusted friend like Israel? So very important point raised, and this is something that we need to focus on in the future.
Okay, as we're all standing by for those exchange of documents between both the delegations, Major General Soy, what initiatives could be announced to deepen people-to-people contact between India and Israel here?
In fact, I would say that India and Israel definitely have long history of people-to-people contact, and Jewish people have moved in India a long time back, and they have never been persecuted. They developed, they prospered here, they added to the prosperity of India, and some of them have gone back, and they still maintain an excellent connect with India. That is and they always have a soft corner for India that makes a totally different ball game altogether. When we talk of the people-to-people connect, there are different fields. When we talk of whether in the field of education or agriculture or in the field of technology, everything adds on to the employment generation, and everything adds on to the economic generation and people-to-people connect. When they have established some IT centers in India, they are helping out in the Startup India, and more than 100 startup companies, which Honorable Prime Minister had also mentioned, were guided and aided by the Israel. So it is not only at the top leadership level. We have seen the bonhomie, we have seen the welcome by the people of Israel or our Prime Minister. And we have also seen the respect in India people have for Israeli defense forces, Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, and people of Israel. We generally have a respect because they are survivors, the way they have been able to fight out. So that makes a lot of difference in the thought process between both the countries, and initiative in these forms will definitely add more to people connect. Tanviti.
Right, we've seen how relationships are taken forward between civilizations in terms of setting up scholarships or exchange programs and others. We're getting images now